Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a somewhat controversial video for you today. Actually, my last video, I'm glad many of you liked it, had to do with something that pissed me off, and I don't like to call out stuff, but my 2024 resolution is to do more of that stuff when it rises to a certain threshold. I'm not just going to sit here and emotionally vomit about stuff that impacts me. Trust me, after 40 years, I could do a 3-hour video of different things that I've seen that I don't like or people I don't like and call out all kinds of stuff. I've got the database just in case ever needed, but that's not really the purpose of my channel. But on the flip side, I do have the unique position, unlike a lot of other people, of not relying on this industry for any kind of having to worry about burning bridges, have to worry about financial impact in this industry, whatever. So I'm not going to abuse that fact, but I'm also not going to just overlook certain things anymore. When I see stuff that rises to a certain level, I am going to bring it to the attention because it just doesn't sit well with me when I'm not sharing certain things that can help the industry and prevent other people from experiencing similar things. And also, I don't want to be associated with promoting things that I really don't believe in. And so luckily, you know, I don't have that problem for the most part, but I just want to make sure going forward that if I can help and improve the industry, I will do certain videos. And of course, the membership section has a little bit even lower threshold in terms of sharing anecdotal stories, sharing some stuff in the past that can be helpful because, you know, that's just a perk of being a member. But getting back to today's controversy, it doesn't have to do with a negative in the hobby. In fact, it has to do with a positive. But it's a controversial positive because what I'm talking about today is, let me grab one here, cable elevators. And call me the most skeptic person of cable elevators. And I still will say that unequivocally, this is something that should be low on your priority list. If you've been a long-time subscriber, you know that what I like to do is focus on giving you priorities. Yes, this is a hobby. If you want to change fuses, Ethernet switches, all these things that, in my opinion, aren't really worth the money and not really worth you investing a lot of time in, it's totally fine to try it. But just make sure you get your other priorities first. Your room, measurements at your room. The chair that you sit in is much bigger than some of those things. Your speakers, DSP, Bach. These are things that unequivocally have much more delta potential for improving your enjoyment of your system than certain other things. But recently, cable elevators were not even in my realm of even trying, didn't care about. But as I started to think of outside of my personal experience and outside of my personal situation, I started to realize that there are some benefits to cable elevators that are potentially apply to other people. And then I had an example that actually happened to myself just last month after I got these. And I wanted to share that with you so that in most cases, a cable elevator should be low on your priority list and probably for most people won't have much of a delta of a performance. But what I wanted to share with you is why you may want to do cable elevators, and also the build quality and nature of it does make a difference in terms of just being able to support some of these huge cables. And that's why I'm a big fan of these Viablue. This is the XL version of their cable lifters, which also comes with 2 tiers so that you can actually put 2 cables on it or brace a cable in between the suspensions here, the little rubber band type suspension here. And these are much better, I found, for a few reasons. Again, big cables, like big speaker cables, big power cables, end up tipping most of them. I have back here the inacoustic ones. And again, these are getting redesigned by Inacoustic. They recognize when I visited them, I told them this is the only thing I didn't like that they made for heavy cables. But they're redesigning these. But just to show you, a lot of them, and this is actually metal though, these are better than some of the ones that are plastic, styrofoam cups, whatever you're using. Just on an aesthetic metric alone is tough to justify putting in your system. If you've got mega dollar gear and a nice room, and you have ugly styrofoam cups or whatever you're using, to each his own taste-wise, but you should put a little bit of thought into aesthetics with cable elevators, because this can enhance the whole layout and improve the visual aspect of your system and cable management. So just from that standpoint, it's good. But then when you have these type cable elevators with vibration control at the bottom, certain cables are more susceptible to microphonics. Again, I don't think this is high on the priority, but if you do believe that that's something you want to go to the neurotic level of, helping, then Viablue makes footers, which you've seen in my prior videos. I've tried their XL absorbers, and they're actually right now underneath my GR Research in Extremes, and I was able to measure a difference just with test tone sweeps reliably a couple times, not just one sweep that, the mic position. I put a mic right here. It's very primitive. I agree that I could have done something much more extravagant with testing tools and experts and all this, but I just wanted to show reliably more than once, with and without, I was able to get a different result in the measurements because of resonance. It was evidently helping. So go watch that video if you believe in or want to see some proof of the Viablue XL absorbers. But they use the same type of absorbing material on their cable elevators, which, to whatever extent you believe that could help you, that's just an added plus. But like I said, from an aesthetic standpoint, build quality, and being able to support any type of cable, these are top notch. Now, what are the reasons, though, performance-wise, you would want to use these? Now, number one is just in general, there are certain cables in your system, like power cables, that are higher voltage cables, especially ones that go to your amps. Higher voltage cables, you should not run parallel to your lower voltage cables, especially if they're not shielded. And so a lot of people have interconnects that aren't shielded. And even so, the shielding may not be perfect, especially if you run the power cable real close to each other. And certain times you may not even want a shielded cable because you want lower capacitance. All of these variables are part of the equation of what cables may be optimal for you or not. Especially if you have long runs, all cables are quasi antennas, okay? So certain things can impact the performance just being proximity wise. And so what I would say most people should buy these for, if you want a performance impact in terms of removing electromagnetic fields that surround every cable, especially high voltage cables, there's going to be a perimeter around that cable that has electromagnetic fields. If you want to avoid that impacting your other cables, don't run them parallel. If you have to do it and you don't want these, make sure they cross perpendicularly, very short, not parallel. But if you have these, you can manage the cables a lot more. You can put the high voltage on there and the other ones on the floor, vice versa. There are different sizes of these. Let me show you. Here's one that's the non-XL version. So you can do, for a certain smaller cable, certain lower price point, you can get this one. You can get the XL version. And then there's this one, which is almost identical to their vibration control pucks. And then it has a channel here. This is very heavy. It doesn't look heavy. This is extremely heavy and very robust. It'll handle any cable. And this would be great for a lot of examples, which I'm about to tell you about for performance-wise in a second. But that just keeping high voltage cables separated by a good several inches is all you need. Now, I have an electromagnetic meter. I go by my cables. I've gone by my server. I've got an RF meter to actually measure where the most problematic areas are. And in most cases, you're not going to have a problem, okay? Certain power cables are even shielded, which not only shields it from things coming in, more importantly, it shields the cable itself from doing things to other things around it. But again, on a power cable, I probably wouldn't buy a shield because that adds capacitance and other things that I probably wouldn't want from an ideal performance perspective, especially if I can separate it and keep that field away by other means. But in any case, it's a complex formula is what I'm trying to get at. You just can't say these do work or don't work work for everybody the same. You have to understand these things, and that's why I'm trying to give you a lot of these little variables that may impact you and may not. Now, one thing that definitely impacted me was just last month. It got really dry in Houston. Static electricity was building up. I came into my room and I touched basically the stand where my center channel speaker is, and my HDMI cable was just laying on that stand. The static, I shocked myself when I touched it, and the static charge just from touching the stand, not even the cable was just laying on it, totally killed the picture to my screen. I had to reboot and get that connection reconnected because the static electricity charge just transferred all the way to disrupt that HDMI signal from that HDMI cable. Simply now putting that HDMI cable with rubber and the vibration control here, the sandwich of aluminum, and then now this totally isolates it from the stand. Now, if I accidentally touch it right now when static electricity is high, I'm not going to have the picture go out. And you can extrapolate that one example to a lot of other things with static and other things that can, in isolated instances, cause a problem. So, a lot of these things, people primitively knee-jerk say, it always works for everybody, and they go run to the forum talking about how great their purchase is and tell everybody they need to have it. If you don't have it, you're not a really good audiophile. That's a primitive judgment. But it's also primitive just to knee-jerk say these things won't work, these things don't have any value. Strictly on aesthetic value and making your system look better, I love it. I mean, these things look great. But on specific instances and different situations, these can definitely have a tangible impact on what can be improved audibly or just performance-wise, something faulting. So I think that this is something you may want to consider that you haven't. I don't think anybody's really talked about all the nuances and all the variables. I'm happy to answer questions in the comments. I'm happy to refer you to Viablue, who has much more experience. I do not make any money from Viablue. I'm not representing them, at least at this point. I love that company. I love the people. If I was going to pick an accessory company to represent for these type of things, it would be Viablue. But all at this point, my members, though, they reached out to me. They're a great company. They reached out to me and offered just recently group buy for my members. These people saved a ton of money on these things. I don't even want to give out how much they actually saved buying these. So there's a perk for just being a member. But sometimes companies offer that kind of thing. But that's the only relationship. I got nothing out of it other than, they send me some demos. And I'll show you the box that these come in. Small box, they are so well packed. It's even hard to get these out of there. They're so well packed. And as you saw with shipping nowadays, even with this kind of stuff, it can get damaged with people not packaging it right. These aren't just shipped in cheap bubble wrap, and these are very nice cases you can keep forever. I'll show you the XL. This is the smaller one, the large, nice case, and then the big box. This is for the XLs. Ignore this right here. That's just some packing stuff. But it comes very well packed. Beautiful boxing. It exudes high end. Now, I guess some of you may be asking what the pricing is. So let me get the normal retail pricing. And I don't think they have a U.S. dealer at this point. So if you do want to buy them, you probably have to reach out to them directly. Or if you want to join the membership section, I can potentially see if we're going to do another group buy or some kind of discount or something for you. I'll do what I can for my members all the time. But here are the retail prices, and I think at retail they are still very high quality build, maybe something you're interested in. They sent me this price sheet, so I'll put it up here. You can freeze frame and hopefully see the pricing for each one. And like I said, they probably are on their website, and you can reach them directly with the website. You want to deal with them directly, you can. They're great people to deal with. Love dealing with them. And they've helped my members. So I like to support companies that help my members, support the channel. and then create a quality product that is really got some potential benefits as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Leave any comments, questions you have, and I'll see you back here soon with a lot more.